This is Rob Mukai of Acocote Eco Inn in Xcalac, Mexico. Doing another fly tying video. It's been a while since I've done one. Been playing around with an articulated mantis shrimp pattern based on what I found to be the actual mantis shrimp that live around here, something a little more accurate, if you will, to what they actually look like. We've got two different versions right now. We've got this guy in olive. Boy, I got all kinds of crap hanging off him. And what you'll see is, like, when this is sitting on the ground like this, the eyes are up, and that's kind of how the mantis shrimp are on the bottom. I can show you a quick picture of what one looks like on the bottom. And then the articulation is right here, and as you can see, when you strip it, it's going to pull straight like this. And that's kind of what they look like when they're swimming. So this is what the actual mantis shrimp around here look like. I've got examples of two different species, but one thing they have in common is their proportions. You'll notice the body behind the last leg is about 50%. The head is about 28%, and the legs are about 20%. You'll also notice that the eyes are oblong. For this tan version, you'll notice that there's kind of an orange undertone under the body, and so therefore we use an orange thread underneath the wraps. The legs are tan with the Chartreuse spots. That's why we use the pumpkin with the Chartreuse spots, and tan eyes, so that's where we go with that. This is the only picture I had with the actual size, but this works out to be about 1 1/8 inch, which is almost exactly a size 6 hook with a 15mm bent mini shank. So that's kind of the size you're looking for a small one. And then this is the olive version of the mantis shrimp. It's got an dark olive body. Chartreuse legs with orange tips, and then the eyes are red on this guy. So this is what we're kind of trying to do with the version that we're tying. Well, so why don't we get going? I think what we'll do is we'll do the olive this time, just for giggles. Start off with a 140 Denier Chartreuse thread, and basically we're just going to cover the shank of the hook with this, and then go all the way back to about the 2/3 point. So if you take this distance and basically take 1/3 of it, that's where so you just place it where you want it, so about 2/3 of the way down the shank of the hook, and then just wrap it 8 times really quickly. 6, 7, 8, and then I kind of pull it back. You don't necessarily need to do that, but then just wrap it in the other direction 8 times. 1, 2, 3. See how I'm doing this? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even if you don't kind of pull it back the way I did, it'll eventually just straighten itself out. Then I'll just do 8 figure 8 wraps real quick. 8, and then 8 underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we'll go back to the back of the hook. And I like to put a dab of crazy glue on there just to hold everything together. So we're going to use this dark olive woolly critter. You don't need this much of a tag end, so I'm just going to cut that off. There we go. And then just tie it onto the back here. Okay, and then work it to the front, and then right here, kind of take about the midpoint between the inside of the eye and the inside of the dumbbell eyes, and then we'll take 3 each of these legs. And this is kind of tricky because what we want is about I don't know, what is that, 1/4 of an inch of the Chartreuse sticking out, and then the rest will be the orange legs. But what I do is I'll just measure out where I want that, wrap it around, and then kind of pin it to the side here. And one trick on this is once you get it on there, pull it tight and then wrap it a couple of times, and it should pull it so it's pretty, comes out pretty straight. And then you can cut that off. And then again on this side, kind of about 1/4 of an inch, mark your spot. I mean, if you want, you can measure it against the other legs. And again, just kind of put it right where you want it. And pull it tight as you wind it down. On this side. Okay. And we'll cut this off. All right. One thing I do like to do, just to, let's put a 1/2 hitch in here, but put it over the cradle, and then I use a little, I don't know what this is, it's a hair tie thing, and I'll pull this out of the way and just put the hair tie on it like that to keep everything out of the way. It'll get kind of wrapped up, but it doesn't matter too much. Okay, now we're just going to take this brush and wrap forward on it. Got to be careful to pull all the legs out, so every rotation or so kind of brush everything back. And then when you get here, you're going to rotate over the tops. I don't know, can you see that? Over the top, come around and over the top again. And again, all this should be going on the inside of those rubber legs. And then underneath, again, inside the rubber legs, and underneath again. And then, this is where it gets a little tricky. We just got to get rubber legs out, untwisted, and then do one wrap in front of the rubber legs. And the trick here is just to make sure you don't get them pinned in the wrong, pointing in the wrong direction. You want them sticking almost directly straight out. And I can use this thing to hold them back again, get them out of the way. And just tie this in. Okay, and then you just clip this off, and then whip finish. Well, looks like I crowded the eye a little bit. I probably needed to give ourselves a hair more room, but this should still work. Alright. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these fish skull articulated, what is that, spines, I guess. For this, I think we'll use a 20mm, and I'm actually going to use, because I think this is a 4. This is actually one I made, so, but anyway, yeah, you can use a 20mm. I use a 15mm for the size 6s and For the 4s, I will use a 20mm, and that's what I've got here. So basically what you have to do is you have to take this right about the midpoint and bend it away from the opening. So just gonna bend it up. So that's what it looks like. And I guess they sell them like this now. I hadn't seen that before, but I saw that online. So the way that this goes is you want it to be hook up and then go up that way. So next off, we have to reattach this based on this guy here. So this is a little tricky because this hook is super sharp and you really don't want to get hooked on it. So again, I just use this little hair clip to hold it back, keep everything clear. And again, we use our Chartreuse thread, and I just start back here and start winding it until that gap closes. Alright, finally. And then start wrapping up a little bit up the shank, and then I just put these two eyes, just kind of put them together right about equal to the eye of the hook. Just wrap it a few times and then kind of position it the way you want it. I kind of like it just either right to the side or fairly close to the eye. And then snip off your excess here. And then we take our woolly critter again, just tie it on. And then I'll go up and notice there's a gap between the eye of the hook and where the thread ends. That's on purpose. I'll show you what we do with this. So then I just put a half hitch in there, hang it over the thread holder, bobbin holder, and then we're going to do the same thing here. So once you get to where the thread ended, now you got to go under, behind the eyes. Pull it down. Maybe you can do a couple. Okay. And then just tie off. Oops. Be careful not to trap your eyes. Okay, and then trim that off. Ow. Watch that hook, it's very sharp. Okay, so that was a little harder than it should have been. Alright, so now we got to clean it up a little bit. So this is basically the fly. And again, what you're going to do here is, first off, we'll trim this off. You want just a little touch of the orange showing. You don't want, so, and that might even be too much. So, again, when it's on the ground, you want those eyes up, and then when you strip, you want it to go down. Okay, so now in order to clean this bad boy up, got to do a little bit of, this is a CNF bodkin with a little, like a dubbing brush on it. And so if you have a dubbing brush, Velcro works great, but just try and get all the legs and any trap fibers out of the front and the back. And then what I like to do is I like to grab the legs and kind of split them down the middle. And for whatever reason, sometimes it's almost always one side's going to get more than the other, so try and even it out a little bit. And I try and pull them down, pull the legs down. And I like these little curved scissors. I think they're pretty awesome. But I'll just kind of clip it back like this, because you kind of want a flatter top on the back especially. So I just kind of put a curve, we'll flatten it, and then once you've done that, I like to pull these legs out to the side. Now what happens with these legs a lot of the times is they just kind of flow back and they look more like a tail than legs, and so what we want is more of a leggy look. So what I'll do is I'll just trim these a little shorter, so shorter than the legs up here. But anyway, so basically what they'll do now is they'll kind of flutter around there. I'll leave the ones in the front long. So anyway, that's the completed fly. Like I said, this thing is, you can separate the legs a little bit if you want. You get these in front of a lot of flats fish and they'll just go bonkers for it. Especially when it's sitting on the ground, like, you know, with the eyes up, they just attack it. It's kind of crazy, you know. You see a bonefish see it and they'll like completely rush it and just crush the thing. Anyway, so that's that. And again, you know, you can do it in tan, and I'll have the recipes for both in the notes below. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. Go out and catch some fish.